I was there to see LG and their new lineup of TVs. It's the first chance to get hands-on with the models. So the main models that were there were the 42C2, which is going to be a big TV for LG. And if you're wondering why the price is the same for the 42 and the 48, it comes down to the mother glass, the size of the mother glass that they use to cut the different sizes of screen sizes. And to get 42-inch screen size, you get very few of them from a mother glass, which means that they're more expensive to make, and you don't get as many of them from one piece of mother glass. That is why the cost is the same. We saw the same with the 48 when it was first introduced, and until the new production line got up and running, that was the reason for that. The 48 was the same price as the 55 for a while, and then the 55 actually got cheaper than the 48 for a little bit of time as well. And again, it just comes down to how these things are produced and the scale and all the rest of it. So it's not LG being greedy. They're just covering the extra costs that it costs them to actually produce these screens. But when you actually see the 42-inch in person, when it's in a lineup with 55, 65, and 77-inch screens, yes, it's so cute and adorable. And I
just want to take it home with you.
Yeah, I remember when 42-inch screens were massive, and I remember the days of CRT as well. So I guess you do get rid of the fact that a CRT was the same depth as it was screen size, and weighed a ton. Flat screens are obviously a lot lighter, and even lighter this year because they're using composite materials now. Certainly in the G2. To make it a lot
Can
lighter.
I just say I endorse this move, and I would very much like amplifier manufacturers to pay very close attention to it. If I'm going to do this job into superannuation, which I probably need to, I really, really, really would like you to focus on making these bloody things lighter.
Well, I mean, saying that, I had a Philips delivered today, the OLED plus 986. It was delivered first thing this morning, along with a 48-inch 806, which I'm going to try as a computer monitor. But anyway, the 986 is the one with the Bowers & Wilkins speaker. It's not a speaker, but it's a speaker. My God, that is the heaviest thing I've ever tried to lift. It's 65 inches as well. So that is the heaviest thing I've ever tried to lift up the staircase. So I wish they would start with composite materials as well. But that's one of the things. But anyway, so on display was the 42-inch C2, which looked adorable. It looks ideal for gamers. The 48 is a good size as well, but 42, it seems to be that sweet spot between the biggest monitors out there that are designed for gaming and obviously something that can be used as a TV as well, as a gaming monitor. Nice little feet as well, which raise it up, so you can get a soundbar under there, or you could, put your controllers under there or whatever. It looks the business. And they're also going to do an actual gaming 48-inch gaming OLED screen as well. That was
Does that mean it's just a monitor or something else about it?
There's not a lot of details at the minute. It's just that it's coming. So if that kind of thing is interested, then they have confirmed that they are going to do a specific branded gaming monitor. I keep forgetting their gaming brand.
Obviously, Phil, whilst I remember, is there? It's not really probably not the sort of thing that LG is going to go into at their look at all of our new stuff thing. Is there any insinuation they're making the 42-inch panels available to other manufacturers, or are they holding on to these for now?
Well, funnily enough, I've visited Sony the next again day, and they've got a 42-inch. So
right. Okay. So I
think that answers your question. Yeah. So yeah, there's a 42-inch. The other new screen size wasn't there, which is 97-inch. That wasn't
the door.
That wasn't on display, and thankfully that won't be coming for review. It wouldn't get through my door. But anyway, what else was there? Oh, we had the C2 in a 77-inch, and there was also a 65-inch G2 as well. The G2
no A2s or B2s.
No, and there never is at these things. This is like the premium launch for the A9 Gen 5 now processor and the screens that use that processor. So it was interesting. I keep saying that phrase, it's interesting, but it was really interesting to actually get hands on and eyes on with these new screens. Now they are prototypes. They're almost at production stage now. And like we said, it's going to be 4 to 6 weeks and these things will be on the market. They are coming pretty soon. There are very slight differences in terms of design on the G2. It now has a chamfered edge instead of an angled edge to the panel. There are some photographs that Stuart might show you, as well as the video that is up on our channel with lots of close-ups of the back of the TVs as well as the front of the TVs, because we know that you guys like to see the back ends of things as well. And also a new stand for the G series. Now, it used to be 2 little feet that cost £100, and they were quite flimsy, especially on the 65-inch, for putting it on a tabletop. There's now a new stand. It looks really nice. Angled, and it's actually on the screen there at the minute. That's the rear end of it, but it's a lot more sturdy at the back there, cable management and so on as well for the G series if you want to have it on a tabletop. And then the C2, again, design wise, not a huge difference. The stand is a little bit more stand upright than it's seen in the video. The video is a little bit more lean back. So in terms of the designs, they are as you would expect them to be now. Performance wise, OLED EVO is now in the C series. It was G only last year, and some of the EVO panels may have found their way into some C ones, but the processing held them back. They were never supposed to be or able to have the same performance in them. It's now EVO panel across the C and the G ranges. The G panel is, again, a little bit different to the C, although they do have the same EVO branding. And the A9 processor has a little bit of a different algorithm for the G2. And this is what they're using this year to boost the performance on that model, is the algorithm, is the processing behind the panel. And when you see it against the C1, which Stuart has, if you're looking at the live video, has up on the screen at the minute, the G2 next to the C1, it looks really dim in the video, and obviously the disclaimer is in the video that, you know, you shouldn't be judging picture quality looking at a video clip that was filmed on a camera with limited dynamic range, and you're looking at on a monitor, again, which has probably got limited dynamic range, and you're not seeing everything as you do in person. But there was a genuine step up, and these are in filmmaker mode. So this wasn't in vivid mode. It wasn't like a Philips event where they have everything turned up to 11. This was actually in filmmaker mode with most of the processing switched off, and we even switched off the dynamic tone mapping as well. So it was a level playing field. And yeah, absolutely, there is a difference between the G2 and the C1 when they were side by side. Quite a noticeable difference, really noticeable in the mid-tones, mid-range of the image. A lot of shadow detail as well, which was excellent to see on the G2. The only thing I did notice, and we were watching clips of the Revenant and Sully on a loop. So with Sully, it was bright, lots of whites, skin tones, and so on. Whereas the Revenant was a bit darker, lots of greens, quite a cyan tint to the color grade on that scene from the film. And it was with that you do start to notice a little bit of color washout in the brightest part of the image, because it's a WRGB OLED using the white pixel and the filter. When you start driving that white pixel to obviously get the extra brightness, colors do become a little bit diluted at the brightest end of that scale. Now, if you're just watching the TV in isolation, you're not comparing it with any other screen that's next to it or a professional monitor or anything like that, you will probably never notice this. You probably never notice that in the brightest reaches, the colors do start to edge towards white. It is a drawback of the WRGB system. In isolation, I doubt regular viewers would ever see it. And I don't think it's a particular issue. It's certainly something that QD OLED, which I'm going to come on to in a minute, will solve and does solve, impressively so, because it's a different panel makeup. But in terms of the extra brightness that is on offer with the G2, it's not really going to be a huge step up in the peak brightness on a 10% window and so on. It's just an overall boost to the dynamic range that is visible on screen. They wouldn't give any numbers out, but obviously we'll measure and test as soon as we get the review samples in. So does that mean that the G2 is a huge step up on the C2. Well, again, if you're watching the live video or you're watching the video back, Stuart has the images that I took, again, with a disclaimer that it was a camera. And it was a lot closer. Now, he's just changed it. Sorry. It's a lot closer between the C2 and the G2. Obviously, very, very similar EVO panels. Just a difference in the processing between the C2 and the G2, and a little bit of tweaking to the panel on the G2. But even so, as you can see there, and that was quite representative of what I was seeing with my own eyes looking at it. The G2 does have more brightness. It is at a little bit more dynamic range, but the difference is not huge. It's not night and day. It's a lot more subtle compared to the previous generation C1. A lot of people might think that I was faking those images, or LG were faking the images. Again, this was filmmaker mode. We weren't in any extravagant modes. We weren't in standard or anything like that. That was filmmaker versus filmmaker. So
is it quite unusual? You say you got to see Revenant and Sully, some clips from movies. Is that quite unusual at these sorts of events to be able to see real world images?
No, not really. It's getting a lot better than demos in the past, which was it used to always be video that was shot to show off the potential upswing of whatever the panel was capable of doing. The companies now realize that, certainly LG and Sony, who I spent the 2 days with, they get the whole creator's intent. They have modes within the TVs that do that get accuracy and so on. So yes, they're quite prepared to show off the film clips. Sony did exactly the same. And
no Gavin and Stacey though.
Unfortunately not. And the thing was, again, there was a little bit, it was nice to see some honesty in these demonstrations, which I think the feedback over the years is, yeah, we understand you got new technology, but let's not over-egg the demos. Let's see, exactly what it is that we're talking about. If it's subtle, but it's still a difference. It's when you go into these demos and there's a huge difference, that's when you start to think, yeah, okay. Or if it's a competitor's model and
it looks like it's in sort of beta.
Yeah, and it's like, well, hang on a minute, I've had that TV in for review and it never looked like that when I had it. So what have you done to it? But thankfully, those types of demos are long gone, and companies are a lot more prepared to show you, what they've done, what their engineering is capable of, what their picture processing is capable of. And we're getting some fantastic results now. Gone are the days where we used to have to lobby these companies for accuracy and color saturation that was correct to standards and so on. They all do it now, and they all do it really, really well.